20 exploitation films that were so controversial, they faced bans across the globe. These movies challenged societal norms, depicted graphic violence, and explored taboo subjects that mainstream Hollywood wouldn't touch. Let's journey through this fascinating era of cinema history. 1. Blood Feast, 1963. Herschel Gordon. Lewis's Blood Feast earned its place in history as the first splatter film, featuring unprecedented gore that shocked audiences worldwide. The film follows an Egyptian caterer who murders young women to recreate an ancient feast for the goddess Ishtar. Its graphic dismemberment scenes, including tongues being ripped out and limbs being hacked off, led to immediate bans in several countries. The UK refused classification until 2001, while various US states and cities banned it outright. What made authorities particularly nervous was the film's influence on copycat crimes and its complete disregard for implied violence. Everything was shown in vivid Technicolor detail. The film's legacy as the grandfather of gore cinema makes it a crucial piece of exploitation history. 2. The Sadist, 1963. James Landis's The Sadist presented a terrifyingly realistic portrayal of a psychopathic killer that was deemed too disturbing for general release. Based loosely on the Charles Starkweather murders, the film follows 3 teachers terrorized by a young sociopath and his girlfriend. Its psychological brutality and nihilistic worldview led to widespread bans, particularly in the American Midwest, where the real crimes occurred. The film's unflinching depiction of random violence, without any moral resolution or justice, deeply troubled censors. What made it especially controversial was its cinema verite style, making the violence feel uncomfortably real rather than theatrical. The protagonist's complete lack of motivation beyond sadistic pleasure was considered too dangerous an influence on impressionable viewers, leading to its suppression for decades. 3. Sheffreak, 1967. Sheffreak faced censorship not just for its violence, but for its exploitative portrayal of carnival performers and people with disabilities. The film tells the story of a waitress who marries into a carnival sideshow for money, only to face grotesque revenge. Its graphic transformation scene and cruel depiction of freaks led to bans in multiple territories. The film was particularly controversial for exploiting real carnival performers while simultaneously depicting them as monsters. British censors found the film's treatment of disability offensive and refused certification. American drive-ins faced protests from disability rights groups, leading many to pull the film. The movie's mean-spirited tone and graphic mutilation scenes pushed it beyond typical exploitation into genuinely disturbing territory. 4th, Mondo, 1962. This Italian shockumentary pioneered the Mondo genre and faced immediate international controversy for its graphic depictions of real animal cruelty and human suffering. Directors Gualtiero Jacopetti and Franco Prosperi's unflinching camera captured everything from tribal rituals to animal slaughter, presenting it as anthropological documentation. The film was banned in numerous countries for its exploitative nature and genuine violence against animals. British censors demanded extensive cuts, while several U.S. states banned it entirely. What made Mondo particularly problematic was its blurring of documentary and exploitation, using real suffering for entertainment. The film's influence spawned countless imitators, but its legacy remains tainted by the genuine harm captured on camera. Many scenes were later revealed to be staged, adding another layer of ethical complexity. 5. The Curious Dr Hump, 1969. This Argentine adult-themed horror film pushed boundaries with its combination of mad science and explicit intimacy, earning bans across Latin America and beyond. The plot involves a mad scientist using a monster to kidnap couples for intimate experiments to achieve immortality. Its graphic content, including group encounters and fetish-themed scenes, was unprecedented for the era. The film faced particular controversy for its themes of forced intimacy and mind control through stimulating potions. Argentine authorities banned it domestically, while U.S. distributors faced obscenity charges. The movie's bizarre mixing of horror and sensuality created a new subgenre, but also drew fire from both conservative and feminist groups. Its portrayal of sensuality as both liberation and exploitation made it too complex and controversial for most markets. 6. The Girl Who Knew Too Much, 1963. Mario Bava's groundbreaking giallo was banned in several countries for its unprecedented combination of lust and violence, establishing templates the genre would follow for decades. The film's graphic murder sequences, particularly those involving women, drew immediate censorship. Its voyeuristic camera work and violence led to cuts in most markets that did show it. Spanish censors banned it outright for its corrupting influence, while British censors demanded significant edits. What made the film particularly controversial was its stylized approach to violence, making murder seem almost beautiful. This aesthetic approach to brutality was seen as more dangerous than straightforward gore. The film's influence on later slashers made censors retrospectively view it as a corrupting influence on cinema. 7. White Slaves of Chinatown, 1964. This exploitation film faced widespread bans for its racist portrayal of Asian characters and graphic depictions of forced prostitution. The movie's plot about white women kidnapped into slavery in San Francisco's Chinatown perpetuated harmful stereotypes while exploiting real trafficking concerns. Multiple Asian American organizations protested its release, leading to bans in cities with significant Asian populations. The film's combination of racial exploitation and violence made it particularly offensive. Even in markets where it wasn't officially banned, protests and threats of violence led to voluntary withdrawals. The movie represents a dark period in exploitation cinema, where racial fears were weaponized for profit. Its legacy serves as a reminder of how exploitation films could perpetuate real-world harm. 8. Olga's House of Shame, 1964. Part of the notorious Olga series, this film pushed exploitation to new extremes with its sadistic torture scenes and themes of forced prostitution. The movie's graphic whipping, scenes and torture led to immediate bans in multiple jurisdictions. New York authorities arrested theater owners showing it, setting precedent for obscenity prosecution. The film's nihilistic tone and complete objectification of women drew criticism from across the political spectrum. What made it particularly controversial was its pseudo-documentary style, presenting extreme sadism as commonplace. The movie's influence on the roughy subgenre led to increased scrutiny of exploitation films generally. Many prints were destroyed by authorities, making it one of the most suppressed films of the era. 9. Twisted Girls, 1963. This French-Italian production faced bans for its graphic lesbian content and sadomasochistic themes, considered doubly taboo in the conservative 1960s. The film's portrayal of a women's reform school as a site of torture and manipulation outraged censors worldwide. Its explicit scenes between women led to immediate bans in Catholic countries and significant cuts elsewhere. American censors found its combination of homo and violence particularly troubling, leading to state-level bans. The film's exploitative portrayal of lesbian relationships as inherently violent and predatory drew criticism from early gay rights activists. What made it especially controversial was its veneer of social commentary about reform schools, while clearly exploiting its subject matter. The movie remains difficult to see in uncut form due to continued censorship. 10. Satan's Bed, 1965. This obscure exploitation film gained notoriety for its graphic content and nihilistic portrayal of group act and drug use. The movie's depiction of a woman's descent into degradation through involvement with a satanic cult led to immediate censorship issues. Its unflinching portrayal of orgies and ritual abuse pushed beyond typical exploitation boundaries. Several U.S. states banned it for obscenity, while international markets largely refused distribution. The film's matter-of-fact treatment of violence and drug use was seen as potentially corrupting. What made it particularly controversial was its suggestion that liberation inevitably led to degradation and evil. Early feminist critics attacked it for equating female with corruption, while conservative groups opposed its explicit content. 11. The Defilers, 1965. This roughie exemplified the subgenre's worst tendencies with its graphic depictions of kidnapping, rape, and psychological torture. The film's plot about two men who imprison women for slavery was considered too extreme even for exploitation standards. Multiple jurisdictions banned it outright, while others demanded cuts that essentially gutted the film. The movie's complete lack of moral framework or consequences for its villains particularly troubled censors. Its influence on later, more violent films led to retrospective criticism of its role in normalizing violence. The film's documentary-like approach to depicting abuse made it feel more like instruction than entertainment. Many prints were confiscated and destroyed, making it one of the most actively suppressed films of its era. 12th Aroused, 1966. This pseudo-documentary about a detective investigating a prostitution ring faced bans for its explicit content and voyeuristic approach. The film's gimmick of presenting itself as educational while clearly exploiting its subject drew particular criticism. Its graphic scenes of prostitution and violence led to obscenity prosecutions in multiple states. The movie's portrayal of bodywork as inherently degrading and violent perpetuated harmful stereotypes. What made it especially controversial was its use of supposedly real footage and interviews, blurring documentary and exploitation. The film's influence on later Mondo-style exploitation led to increased scrutiny of pseudo-documentaries. Many feminist groups protested its portrayal of women as either victims or predators with no agency. 13. Mantis in Lace, 1968. This psychedelic horror film combined LSD panic with violence, hitting two major social anxieties simultaneously. The movie's plot about a go-go dancer who murders men while on acid trips led to widespread censorship. Its graphic violence combined with drug use made it particularly controversial during the height of anti-drug sentiment. The film's strobe effects and psychedelic sequences were blamed for causing seizures and psychological distress. Multiple countries banned it for promoting drug use and violence. What made it especially problematic was its suggestion that LSD use inevitably led to murderous psychosis. The movie's exploitation of contemporary fears about drugs and changing mores made it a lightning rod for criticism. 14. The Smut Peddler, 1965. This meta-exploitation film about the pornography industry faced immediate censorship for its explicit content and cynical worldview. The movie's behind-the-scenes look at exploitation filmmaking included actual pornographic footage, leading to obscenity charges. Its nihilistic portrayal of everyone involved in the industry as either predator or prey drew criticism from multiple angles. The film was banned in numerous jurisdictions for its actual pornographic content rather than simulated scenes. What made it particularly controversial was its self-aware exploitation of its own subject matter. The movie's suggestion that all media was essentially pornographic offended mainstream critics, while its brutal portrayal of the industry upset exploitation fans. Many prints were seized in police raids on adult theaters. 15. Shanty Tramp, 1967. This southern exploitation film faced bans for its toxic combination of racial violence, assault, and religious hypocrisy. The movie's plot involving a white woman falsely accusing a black man of rape to cover her own crimes hit every sensitive nerve in 1960s America. Its graphic violence and racial themes led to riots at some screenings and immediate bans in numerous cities. The film's exploitation of racial tensions for profit drew condemnation from civil rights groups. What made it particularly controversial was its cynical use of real social issues for shock value. The movie's portrayal of religious leaders as hypocrites and racists led to protests from church groups. Its legacy as one of the most irresponsible exploitation films of the era remains intact. 16. The Touchables, 1968. This British film faced censorship for its themes of kidnapping, coercion, and youth rebellion that authorities feared would inspire copycat crimes. The movie's plot about girls who kidnap a pop star for their pleasure was seen as promoting lawlessness. Its psychedelic style and anti-establishment message led to bans in conservative areas. The film's casual attitude toward crime and its exploitation of power dynamics troubled censors. What made it particularly controversial was its timing during actual high-profile kidnappings. The movie's suggestion that crime could be fun and hot was seen as a dangerous influence on youth. Despite its relatively tame content compared to other entries, its mainstream appeal made authorities more concerned about its influence. 17. Love Camp 7, 1969. This Nazi-exploitation film inaugurated one of exploitation cinema's most controversial subgenres, facing immediate and widespread bans. The movie's setting in a Nazi brothel camp and graphic depictions of torture outraged critics worldwide. Its combination of Holocaust imagery with this exploitation was considered uniquely offensive. The film was banned in most countries, with some making its distribution a criminal offense. What made it particularly reprehensible was its use of real historical atrocities for titillation. Jewish organizations led protests against any screenings, while Germany made possession illegal. The movie's influence on the Nazi-exploitation genre led to some of cinema's most shameful moments. Its legacy remains one of the darkest in exploitation history. 18. Space Thing, 1968. This sci-fi film faced censorship for its wall-to-wall nudity and non-stop content disguised as futuristic adventure. The movie's paper-thin plot served only to string together endless softcore scenes, pushing boundaries of acceptable content. Its portrayal of a future where clothing was optional and act was casual alarmed conservative groups. The film was banned in multiple jurisdictions for obscenity despite its comic tone. What made it particularly controversial was its targeting of drive-in audiences, including families. The movie's complete abandonment of plot for flesh led to new discussions about what constituted actual movie-making versus pornography. Its influence on later lusty comedies normalized content that was shocking at the time. 19. The Lustful Turk, 1968. This period film faced bans for its graphic rape scenes and Orientalist racism, combining violence with cultural stereotypes. The movie's plot about European women, captured for a Turkish harem, perpetuated centuries-old prejudices while exploiting contemporary anxieties. Its endless scenes of assault, presented as exotic adventure, outraged critics. The film was banned in Turkey and other Muslim countries for its offensive portrayal of Islamic culture. What made it particularly problematic was its pseudo-historical presentation, suggesting accuracy while perpetuating myths. The movie's influence on Orientalist exploitation led to decades of harmful stereotypes. Many Middle Eastern organizations protested any screenings, leading to voluntary withdrawals even where not officially banned. 20. Career Bed, 1969. This film faced final year of the decade censorship for its cynical portrayal of casting couch culture in Hollywood. The movie's graphic depictions of exploitation in the entertainment industry hit too close to home for many. Its matter-of-fact treatment of rape and coercion as business as usual drew fierce criticism. The film was banned in Los Angeles and other entertainment industry centers for its potential impact on the business. What made it particularly controversial was its basis in recognizable real events and people. The movie's suggestion that all success in Hollywood came through favors offended both industry insiders and women's groups. Its legacy as a document of exploitation, both on and off screen, makes it a complex artifact of its era. These 20 films represent the extreme edge of 1960s exploitation cinema, where filmmakers pushed every boundary of taste, decency, and legality. While many remain banned or heavily censored today, they serve as important historical documents of a time when cinema was testing its limits. Their influence, both positive and negative, can still be felt in contemporary horror, thrillers, and even mainstream films. Whether viewed as cautionary tales or creative rebellion, these movies forever change what was possible to show on screen. Remember to like and subscribe for more deep dives into cinema history's most controversial moments.